Okay, just set up my space. And I drop things. Of course I do. That goes there. Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another video, and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. I'm Pen, and today I'll be reading Chapter 2, the final part of There Will Be No Goodbyes Today by Couric Seeds. This is Chapter 2, Good Morning. Summary. The next day, Atsushi wakes up and Dazai's here again. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and let's get right into the fic. Chapter 2. The next morning, Atsushi woke up to the permeating sun peeking between the curtains, illuminating the entirety of his room. After slowly opening his eyes, he glanced at the clock next to him and immediately shot up from his sleeping position. How did he sleep until 1:30 p.m.? Whatever. It's Saturday anyways. Atsushi grumbled to himself and smashed his face back into the pillow until he reluctantly rolled out of bed. As he made his way over to the bathroom to wash his face, he suddenly became very aware of the events that occurred the day before, the reality of his actions crashing down on him like a freezing buckets of water. And he forgets the ability to breathe. He looks up at the mirror and contemplated his life and his unkempt hair. Automatically, he filled his hands with warm water and splashed it onto his face several times to calm down. Yesterday night, Dazai had confronted him about his abnormal behaviour, and in return, he had not only broken down in tears once, but twice. He, an 18-year-old, lectured his mentor and completely disregarded the important aspect of respect. Atsushi looked at himself in the mirror again and despairs. How am I ever going to face him now? Before he could spiral down that rabbit hole of self-deprecating thoughts, he was interrupted by the generic ringtone Rumpo always complained about. Hello? Atsushi-kun! Dazai-san? The one and only. Are you awake now? I mean, of course you are. You picked up your phone, so you have to be awake, right? Unless you're one of those secret sleepwalker and talkers. Unless you've been one of these secret sleepwalker and talker all this time, right under my nose. But we've never really spent the night together, so I wouldn't have known. We should have a sleepover one day. Yeah, I'm awake now. Atsushi interjected, internally screaming. Sorry, did you call me before? What's up? No, don't worry, you precious little head. I ran into Kyoko earlier at the supermarket and she said you were still sleeping when she left. I was just calling to check up on you. Thanks, but I'm good. Great, even. I appreciate your concern, but there's no need for that. Atsushi gave a pained smile into the speaker, despite knowing Dazai wouldn't be able to see it. I presume you're still at home then? Atsushi let out an embarrassed laugh. Yeah, I just woke up. Well, in that case, can you open the door and let me in? Panic shot through his body as he registered Dazai's blunt request, frantically looking around before rushing inside the bathroom. Outside the bathroom? Are you outside my dorm? How long have you been waiting there? Atsushi hummed in affirmation without any further elaboration. Atsushi could almost feel his expectant stare boring deep into him through the door. Taking a deep breath and resigning to his fate, Atsushi reached for the doorknob and was immediately welcomed to the beaming face of Dazai Osamu. Good morning. I hope you slept well. Kyoko said you were snoring when she left. Dazai teased, the corner of his mouth quirking up. His eyes flitted around his face, giving him a once-over, while Atsushi couldn't help but feel a bit self-conscious. He glanced down at himself and wrinkled his nose. When he went to bed last night, he didn't have the energy to change clothes, so he woke up in his typical outfit. His outfit today consisted of a wrinkled white shirt, a messed up tie that trailed down his back, pants with only one pant leg rolled up, and a simply non-existing belt. To put it simply, Atsushi looked like he climbed out of a rat's nest. Maybe he shouldn't have opened the door so urgently. Maybe he should have pretended that he wasn't home. Maybe he shouldn't even exist. Atsushi rubbed the back of his neck, plastering the smile that he hoped would mask his anxiety. I'm going to say anxiety because I do not know that word. I passed out right when I arrived home, so I slept more than enough. I guess all those overtime hours finally caught up with me. That's great, Atsushi-kun. Does this mean you have enough energy to assist me with something? I can't do it without you. His eyes were gleaming, the corners crinkling at his big smile. I'm not going to help you with another suicide, and I wasn't going to ask you to. That's not what I was going to ask of you. Dazai firmly assures, I need you to help me with something else. Okay, with what? From his hand, Dazai lifted up a grocery bag, revealing all sorts of culinary ingredients. Atsushi regarded him questioningly and peered into the bag for a better look. I've created a new personal mission of mine. Impress everyone with my impressive cooking capabilities. Your what capabilities? Can you even turn on a stove without the kitchen exploding? Indignation plastered all over Dazai as he puffed out his chest and dramatically pointed his index finger in front of Atsushi's face. You have no right to judge me, you base Chazuke maniac. Huh? Don't pretend you didn't hear me. I bet the only thing you know how to cook are hard-boiled eggs. I never said I was an amazing cook. And how to overboil tea. So you, my exclusive Chazuke lover, will come to realize the absolute horrors of closed-mindedness. You will be the first to witness my true potential with my culinary talent. I will invoke an epiphany in you with my pure skill. Just you wait. Today be prepared, because I will broaden your mind. Dazai stood there pointing at Atsushi, head tilted down and making unwavering eye contact that would send anyone with social anxiety out of town. What was this guy even talking about? They continued to stare at each other for what seemed to be hours until Atsushi finally relented. He sighed in reluctance and opened the door wider. I assume you want to come in? Atsushi could only watch in exasperation as Dazai flashed him a grin and carried himself to his room and into the kitchen, while Atsushi rushed after him like a worried parent. Wow, you're lucky I actually brought some seasoning with me, Dazai announced, his head already burrowed inside his cupboards. How's it possible for you and Kyoka-chan to fail in owning soy sauce of all things? You should be ashamed of yourself. One of the most common and necessary staples in a kitchen. Dazai-san? Glancing over his shoulder, Dazai averted his attention to the sight of an irritated Atsushi, his eye twitching, his hands crossed over his chest. What are you doing? After last night I expected... What did he expect from him? Dazai obviously wouldn't suddenly turn into an emotional wreck like how Atsushi is feeling right now. Dazai is the type to pretend that everything is fine and dandy when it came to emotional confrontations. I didn't forget about our conversation, if that's what you're concerned about. It's quite the opposite, actually. Dazai said casually, rummaging through his grocery bag and placing items on the counter. I wasn't lying to you when I said I was calling to check up on you. And you're cooking to check up on me? Precisely. You haven't eaten breakfast yet, have you? Atsushi shook his head slowly. No, not yet. Eagerly, Dazai set both palms onto the counter and leaned in. I know you enjoy rice as much as any other cultured citizens, but can you handle spice? Can you? Dazai scoffed, but didn't reply. He returned to the rummaging through the kitchen and eventually giving a aha with surprising ease. Dazai plopped a gigantic bag of rice onto the counter, along with a handful of other ingredients. It was marveling how swiftly Dazai maneuvered around a kitchen he rarely stepped foot in. Atsushi wanted to step in, but felt as though he would only be acting as a burden. After all, Dazai wasn't wrong about him being a less than mediocre cook. Atsushi, I hope you at least know how to make rice. Atsushi raised his eyebrow and tilted his head. I thought we already established I was an Uchizuke maniac. Of course I'll know how to cook rice. Then I'll leave the rice cooking to you while I prepare everything else. Sure, yeah, why not? What exactly are we making again? Spicy curry, but we can leave out the spice if you want to. No, it's alright. I can handle spicy foods just fine. Somehow, the atmosphere became even more awkward than before, the tension between the two increasing more and more the longer they failed to properly address everything. For one, Atsushi never felt more stupid in his life. He wanted to bang his head against the wall and shake Dazai by the shoulders and ask him what he was doing at his house, cooking curry. A while ago, he acknowledged the fact that he would never fully understand Dazai, but it still infuriated him when he had no clue what his motives were. He had no idea how Dazai could be so sentimental last night, cheerful in the morning, and now reclusive. Atsushi wished she had a mind like Grumpo, a master detective, who could decipher any case. In this case, Dazai. While Atsushi was washing rice over and over again, Dazai was chopping up the vegetables at a rapid pace, almost as if he was a machine. They worked in silence for the most part, yet Atsushi wouldn't exactly consider it a comfortable silence. He could tell Dazai wanted to hold off the conversation until after they finished, despite the obvious strain in the air. Atsushi just focused on cleaning the rice and prayed that everything would eventually turn out well in the end. After all, thanks English. All of a sudden, something grazed his shoulder and a jolt ran through his entire body. He turned his head towards his shoulder and found a bandaged hand resting on top of it firmly. Adorning a faint smile, Dazai said, I think you purified the rice with all its sins already. If you wash it anymore, I'm not sure it'll survive the winter. Dazai lightly tapped on top of Atsushi's head and took the pot of rice from his arms. I've prepared finishing the curry already, so we just need to let everything cook. That means we can eat in about... He glanced at the clock. 30 minutes. They stood there near the oven, watching the water start to boil. Dazai-san, Atsushi? A non-committal hum, more so a distorted sound, escaped Atsushi as he gestured for Dazai to continue. I'm sorry, Dazai whispered. He ran a hand through his hair and took a deep breath before swallowing. I'm sorry for piling my work onto you and ignoring how you felt. How you feel about how you feel about suicide. It wasn't my intention to make you feel uncomfortable around me. Atsushi regarded him carefully, then sighed. Well, it wasn't my intention to tell you how to feel or act. Yesterday was stressful, and everything that built over the past week just came crashing down on me. Life sucks that way. Yeah. Atsushi let out a huff and grimaced. I guess I'm starting to understand you a little more in that sense. I'm sorry too, for blowing up on you. Dazai shrugged, leaning on the counter beside him and stretched his arms. It was bound to happen eventually. I never realized that you were capable of such a feat. Last night I almost had an existential crisis after your outburst, but you helped me realize a few things, so thank you. There was a beat. Then Dazai saw a blur of white and felt arms wrap around him. Unlike last night, This hug was purely out of comfort and instead of desperation. Dazai relaxed into the embrace and rested his head against the fluff of hair resting on his chest, his heartbeat gradually slowing to match Atsushi's. "This is nice," Atsushi muffled's voice murmured. After a few seconds, Dazai patted Atsushi's back and started to pull away, only to be pulled right back in. "Can we stay like this for a second?" His hands gripped the back of his coat while Dazai merely chuckled and returned the gesture. For once, Dazai felt like he could finally breathe again. He could breathe freely again. Glancing down, Dazai was greeted with the sight of a smiling Atsushi bearing closed eyes. Dazai looked around the kitchen for a moment, then perked up at the sound of an alarm. "Ah, that's the rise. The curry should be done by now too," Dazai speculated as he practically pried Atsushi's fists off his clothes and crossed over the kitchen to lean over a pot of curry, and opened the lid, wafting the smell. Come here. Atsushi made his way over and was blasted by the strong aroma of curry. It wasn't unlike being punched in the face. He choked over the particle in the air and doubled over. If the smell of the curry was that strong, how spicy would it be eaten? "Are you sure this is edible?" Dazai gasped. "How dare you doubt my abilities? Well, let's see how your rice turned out then." "I'm sure it's not going to kill me like whatever that abomination is." "Abomination? Deadly creation. Sorry. Just wait for your mind to be blown." Atsushi's mind was, in fact, blown, as well as his mouth. Atsushi lifted his spoon and took a hesitant bite. Immediately his tongue was welcomed with the burning depths of hell. "What the? This is that's an actual torture device. I only had half a spoonful and I'm already dying. Are you a masochist or how is your tongue not burning off?" Dazai looked up from his own bowl of curry, revealing his teary eyes. His face looked like his head was dumped into a pile of blush, and he was panting like a dog under the smouldering sun. He took a sharp breath before downing a glass of water. Coughing, Dazai replied, "Who says my tongue hasn't burnt off already?" He fanned himself with his hand, making incoherent sounds, reminding Atsushi of a dying dog. "I thought you said you could handle spice." "Since when did I say that?" Dazai wheezed. "Why on earth would you cook the world's spiciest curry if you didn't like spice?" Dazai got up and let out a few more coughs. I used to find that spicy curry numbs the pain." "Well, it replaces the previous pain with whatever you're experiencing now, with whatever I'm experiencing now." "Are you saying this is your coping mechanism?" "That's one way of putting it." Atsushi stared at him in disbelief, but he was surprisingly unsurprised. "I guess there are worse things to do," he huffed as watching Dazai stumble back into the kitchen to grab a carton of milk. "You're worse off than me," Atsushi pointed out. "I'm just trying to make you feel better," Dazai said as he chugged another glass, wiping the milk from his face. He sat back down in his seat looking wearily at his bowl of curry with blurred vision. Atsushi snickered. "Thanks for your consideration, but I don't think I'm in dire need of help here." Dazai didn't respond. Atsushi didn't think he even heard what he said. Everything fell back in place like aligning stars in the night sky. Dazai was back to his goofy antics again, while Atsushi watched in exasperation like always. He'd forgotten how freeing it was to simply spend time in each other's presence. He missed the feeling of home whenever Dazai was around. Dazai was his salvation, and he still is. That's why his suicidal jokes bothered Atsushi. He didn't want to lose a friend, a mentor, a father figure, whatever and everything Dazai was to him. But After seeing the true remorse plastered on Dazai's expression, Atsushi was inclined to believe that he wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. His apology was genuine and his eyes were sincere. Though he began to pull away from his hug, he came back and everything felt right in his arms. Taking in Dazai's pathetic form, Atsushi took the curry bowl away from him and dumped it into his own bowl. The curry is actually pretty good. It just needs to cool down a bit. Atsushi reassured. I have some canned crab in me in the meantime. Dazai's eyes watered again, this time not from the spice. You're my savior, Atsushi-kun. Atsushi smiled to himself and thought, you got it wrong, Dazai-san. You've always been my savior. Okay, everyone, that was the second and final chapter of There Will Be No Goodbyes Today by Korok Seeds. I hope you guys enjoyed this because I know I did. It's a really good fic. So fluffy in the second chapter. It was just amazing. Anyway, so instead of writing this in the description, I might anyway, but I'm going to give you a little update on my life because it's the end of the video. You know, that stuff. So I got my learner's license. Yeah, I can drive a car. I have to be with someone, but I'm learning. It's a learning process, and it is terrifying, but I love it. I love driving. Anyway, yeah, I'll write anything else in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed the day, and I'll see you guys later. Make sure to take care of yourself, bitch. I'm joking, please don't take that as an insult.